Hello everyone. Welcome to Common Underground Podcast. I'm your host, Jasper, and today we have a guest called Julian Campbell. I've met him in Peru, in Paracas. It's a coastal town in Peru where there's like elongated skulls from the Paraca culture, and there's the eighth biggest nature reservoir is there as well. So it's an incredible place to meet, and we've been keeping in touch since then. He lives in Australia, in Brisbane, and yeah. So what else can you tell about what you're doing? Because what the subject is about for today is being healthy on mental, emotional, and physical level. And I know that this is something that's very relevant in your own life, in the way you approach things. With you talked earlier about if you lean against a tree, then it helps with like sleeping during the night. And I also know that you do a lot of infrared um, practices. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that as well. But
Mm.
yeah, is there something important that I've missed that you should talk to say about yourself?
No, mate. Look, happy to be on here. And when we met in Paracas, I thought you were very interesting, and uh, I personally was interested in following your journey. So here we are. We've stayed in touch, and we get to have this conversation and work on this new little project, which could really turn into something.
Yeah.
And I think as you continue on your travels, you'll likely meet uh, more interesting people, more knowledgeable people, and you'll learn a lot as an individual. But no doubt, be able to create real value, and through this podcast, hopefully, help others, with
Yes.
what they're going through in their lives. Look, I don't think I'm not an expert in any field, nor do I have um, you know a depth of information on the things that I like to practice for my own health. But one thing I find that is critical is presence, and in presence, having the ability to reflect honestly internally, as well as having the ability to accept things, and to live life in that present state without any guilt or other negative emotion from your past. Using my weekend as an example, it's 7:37 p.m. on a Sunday night, and it's been a weekend for myself. You were talking before we started recording, um, that some of your friends, if they party, they will be getting up around this time, and it's around 11:30 a.m. your time, and I mentioned that that's not a behavior that I practice anymore, because I truly do believe that it doesn't set you up for success in that day, but also in the coming days. So, Friday night, I ended up going out, celebrating actually with a friend from an achievement we had in business last week. And yesterday had a lunch with a few new friends, and that ended up turning into heading out to a club where I DJ'd and played music. So probably got home around 2 o'clock again this morning. But on both occasions, I was up at 6 a.m. and on Saturday morning, use my morning to go to the markets and get all fresh produce, and also took time to look after my physical state by making sure I was eating nutritious food. And I attend a place called Recovery Science. I go there every Tuesday and Thursday night and Saturday morning. And at Recovery Science, they have infrared saunas. They've got these Theraguns that help with myofascial release, which is basically just relieving tension in muscles
What
in
did
your
you say?
body, and you
Fascia
use it all
release?
over your body. But they also myofascia release. So fascia tissue is
Oh
a
yeah,
type of muscle tissue that, yep, yeah,
I've heard about it. Yeah.
fascia tissue connects, yeah, everything from the toe to the head. And a lot of dysfunctions with people's mobility comes from a buildup of fascia tissue that calcifies. So, for instance, people that work office jobs and sit, at desks for, long hours, most days of the week, they will have a lot of fascia tissue built up on their quadriceps, and they will have very inactive and weak hamstrings and glute muscles. And those two in particular are very critical for humans being able to move in an effective manner that stops us from getting injured. But I was just talking about, obviously, presence. And on that topic of presence, this morning, for instance, I got up early and went down to the beach and put myself in a mindset that, even though I was tired from not getting, my 7 to 8 hours of sleep, or normally 6 to 7 hours of sleep is where I try and aim for. Even though I didn't get the full 6 to 7 hours of sleep that I normally like to get 2 nights in a row, that didn't get in the way of me making the most of the time that I had available in this day. And on top of that, I didn't exhaustion or the fact physically a little consumption. I didn't let that feeling turn into a state of doing nothing around home and eating bad food and getting into a mental state of dreading having to work tomorrow as it's Monday. What I've been practicing for the past 6 months since I've started using a psychologist is just changing the way I think and always looking at the opportunity to really make the most of your life and to make the most of your time. And so, we went out to the beach and got, good amount of sunlight and made ourselves a healthy lunch. But throughout the day, I would take time to reflect and put myself in a state of looking forward to tomorrow. So now I'm excited to get up. I'm looking forward to the opportunity I have tomorrow to do well at work. So it's not something I'm dreading. And I think I see a lot of people close in my life, or to be honest, actually, the people I surround myself with a lot aren't like this. They're similar to me in their way of thinking. But there's still a lot of people in my life that, in their circumstances, if they had the night I had last night, a lot of them would just watch movies and sit around and do nothing all day and dread going to work on the Monday. And I think that that's a very negative way to live, because every day is an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to help others and to give and to grow. And, a lot of people, I guess, have schedules that maybe aren't enjoyable Monday to Friday, so they use their weekends as an escape. But again, I think that way of living is toxic. And, for someone like myself that has quite a few commitments on the go between, full-time work, managing a business that's reasonably successful, and being a part of 2 different investment groups, I need to be mentally available and present and effective for all of those different groups that I'm committed to. And so, of course, I think one of the things that is so important with presence is having control of your time. So my ultimate goal, it's not to be rich. It's not to profit, over other people or profit, that profit in any way that has a negative impact on others. It's not to amass wealth that I don't want to share with other people. My ultimate goal, from a work and financial and life point of view, is just to have 100% control of my time. So I choose to spend 100% of my time on the things that I want to work on, the things that I want to do.
Yeah, that's very, very important, because a lot of people, they sell their soul, and I am a little bit guilty of this as well. Like, I work in the kitchen, but it's not tempting as something I have a big passion for. So it's something that I get an income from, but it's not something that I would do for the rest of my life. And it's pretty stressful as well. People are not very nice to each other because there's so much stress. And it's also a reason why I don't want to stay here in the Netherlands. But it's just something that really goes through our society. And also what you said about the working until the weekend, and then it's finally weekend and people party and people drink a lot of beer, and then they forget about all their problems and all their regular life, and then they're stuck at the same place where they were before, and like financially they're not building up towards something else. Like all the money that I gather from the kitchen, even though I don't like it, I keep it as much as possible, and I invested in other things like making my own product, or just investing in like different companies, or just making opportunities. Like you said, I bought some silver. Like there's always, especially like right now in this coronavirus, there's a lot of people there. They hide away in fear because of this virus, and they put on this mask, which is all superficial. If you're like down to it, it's controversial to say this, but the virus itself doesn't can just travel through the mask. And here in the Netherlands, I don't know about the regulations, and I don't want to talk about the coronavirus too much because it's too controversial. But it is something like people, they see a lot of chaos, and then there's like a lot of opportunity coming from the same situation as well. But a lot of people don't notice it because they're so caught up in fear, and they don't see those opportunities appearing in front of them. And it takes a lot of courage to get on that opportunity. Like this
Yeah.
podcast, for example, is for me pretty new as well, but also an opportunity to meet with people. And I don't care how many people watch this. For me, it's more about the conversations that we're having like normally off camera. But then you created some content, and even though no one will watch it, you can still watch it yourself like years later, and maybe you can still like learn something from it or whatever. So
Yes.
that's what it's more about.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, being able to find the opportunities in everything, or at least, yeah, the lessons in everything is important. But the real the real courage, I think, for a lot of people in our societies is being okay with challenging conventional thinking. Um, you know, Conventional thinking tells us, we have to go to school, and once we've done that, we have to get a degree, and once we've done that, we've got to get a corporate job, or a safe or secure job, and then we got to get a mortgage and buy a house, and we've got to have kids, and the cycle repeats itself, and it's bullshit, is what it is. These are actually more damaging decisions than, for instance, we maybe don't have the same controls with high school because parents will make those decisions for us. But after high school, understanding yourself by using your time the way you want to use your time, as opposed to continuing in that, I'll call it a trap, whatever you want to call it, of having to go and do this because someone else is telling you to do it. People need to go on their own journeys and really discover who they are and what they want to do and what drives them as a person,
Yeah.
who they want to spend their time with, how they want to live their life, and what conventional thinking has done is it is created a society of closed-minded people, so people aren't open to opportunity. They aren't open to positive change. They aren't open to other people that have ideas that to them seem scary because it challenges everything they know. But
Yeah.
ultimately, a lot of people have a lot of really good ideas that are very opposite to conventional beliefs, um, that are like fundamental to healthy human life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and
look, as an individual, go ahead.
yeah. Well, the thing is, like, people will probably think that we're drafting off topic here because we're meant to talk about healing, but I think like healing ties in with a lot of those different things that we're discussing, because healing is very like broad. It's just meaning like bringing together a whole. That's like healing, holding, and like holy as well. So just realizing that everything is sacred and that you're not just living in a rat race just to serve this system, but also like serve a whole purpose. Like maybe some people will call it God or whatever, just a service, like just a something we can push beyond. And we met in Peru, and there's like the Kiro tradition, and the Kiro is like the only tradition that little bit links back to the Incas themselves, and they keep a lot of this knowledge, and they have a idea called Kavshai, push the Kashvai. So that's like pushing a certain energy forward. And that has everything to do with healing. And they see healing not as like here in the West, we think like healing that's something you have to do for yourself. But healing is actually something we do together. So it's not just us as an individual that need healing, but you can also look at the earth or the way we treat each other. There's a lot of healing there as well. And it ties together with everything that we experience in our daily life. Like I personally have IBS, but it doesn't, for me, it's just a reminder of there's so much pain in the world, and this is what I feel. And instead of calling it my pain, I call it the pain, like the pain we all share. So that's why if we approach healing, then we have to really look holistically, and that's why I also mentioned the mental, emotional, and physical, but you can also add the spiritual side, and those all need to be tied together, and only then you can have real healing. Because in our society, if you go to a doctor, I went to a doctor like many times, but the only thing they do is they'll give you a prescription, or they give you some recommendations like lifestyle based, but mostly you can find those things on your own on the internet, and even more accurate as well.
Yeah,
And the medicine is just a help for like 2 weeks, and then you're stuck at the same problem, or maybe even worse. So there's
yeah.
no.
Often those medications have worse side effects when they're treating symptoms. Yeah,
Mhm. But it's very popular here in the Netherlands to just, if there's something wrong with you, you go to the doctor, and the doctor has complete authority about your health, instead of you having your own authority about your own health and like finding a cure or creating a cure, whatever. But just here, there's so much, people are so dependent on everything. And that's also something that comes back from education, that we're never learned to really question things and just to make up our own mind. So, and that's also something I mentioned earlier about the coronavirus. People shouldn't believe anything that I'm saying. They should question it and do their own research. I'm not saying like don't put on a mask or don't follow the rules. So these are all like part of conventions as well. But if you address them and you make them very critically, that's what they did against the Nazis as well during the Second World War. And there's like big consequences that come from that. So that's why like I would really uh, love to talk about that more specifically about the coronavirus, but it's just not something we can do on YouTube because of the censorship. So I'll just never use it in a tag. But it is something that needs to be addressed, and it's not just something about the coronavirus. It's about if there was another pandemic or another problematic situation that's just like climate change, then you need a certain attitude, you need a certain way of being that is like functional and also sustainable and
mm,
uh, conscious of what's going on, and
yeah.
really like responding in the right way.
Well, so you know, one thing, or you said a few things that I quite like there, but the idea of other people looking outward to others to solve their problems or to create a better life is a flawed concept. The right way, okay, and this is what you alluded to with people should feel like they should be asking questions to understand, but the right way forward for anyone that wants to heal or grow or improve is to firstly take responsibility for your own life, to be the one that ultimately has the control. And if you're not sure on something, to then understand what you need, or to at least gather the information you need so you can start making more informed decisions. These glasses, for instance, I wear them when the sun goes down. They're blue light blockers. I've actually, with a payment that's coming to me in 2 weeks' time, my partner and I are going to buy LED lights that will position around the house that will give us control over the color, the lighting color of our house. Right now, it's just these bright lights at home. So I wear these to block the blue light, because blue light at nighttime is proven to disrupt our circadian rhythms and lead to poor sleep patterns. Now, sleep is one of the most important things for health. Yet we live in a society where people will probably think I'm strange wearing these red glasses at nighttime, yet feel completely comfortable having a Valium or a Xanax, a powerful narcotic, to help them sleep. That is not obviously a something that people should fall back on. If you're having issues, with sleep as one example, and a lot of people do, then instead of solving that with a powerful narcotic that has negative impacts on your health, understanding why you're having problems with the sleep, asking that question is what people should be doing. And there will be correlations, whether it is light exposure. Look at the world we live in now. Most people are attached to multiple screens, whether it's mobile phones, televisions, laptops, and often multiple screens at once. So that's one example. But obviously, also we have issues with nutrition. A lot of people don't get the right nutrients they need from their diets. We have an issue with hydration. Most people don't drink enough water, even people that have access to it. And then there's movement as well. Most people don't exercise as often as they should. And even higher percentage of people don't understand the correct ways to exercise based on how human biomechanics works based on our evolution. So there's lots of considerations, I think, when it comes to health and healing, and it comes back to that taking responsibility for, if you're not sleeping well, you need to understand why. It's not, you're never going to get a quick solution isn't a sustainable one. Okay.
Yeah.
So going to the doctor to get a solution to help you sleep for 1 week, that's not going to help you for the next however many years you have in your life. Taking the responsibility means understanding anything that could have an impact on that particular thing. And then once you've got the information, you can make better decisions. And I personally believe that, if we go on a higher level, it's not ever going to be the case where governments are ever going, or, really it starts from that level, are ever going to enforce or educate even these things where people are able to then start adopting these things into their lives. It just won't happen. But what can happen is if more people started realizing that a lot of really everything that is happening to them is within their own control, then you'll see real change.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very important to have your own authority voice, and that's something people have to hear first for the first time because and that's what I was saying earlier. Like we put away a lot of our responsibilities, and we're so brought up in this way, or so that it's very difficult. People have still this approach also with us. Like if I say something, I already have a certain authority speaking, but this authority doesn't know everything. So if you have a
exactly.
way of like listening and you're like, okay, this guy knows what he's saying because it's logical in a way the argument is put forward, then there could be still some things that are, if you really do research, aren't correct. So that's also what this channel is about, like the common ground where we have to find each other. Like, okay, this is where I can understand the other person, and the understanding is also like under the foundation, and on this foundation we can build something new or create new opportunities, or just make the best out of things. I don't want to say solutions because solution already implies that there's a problem, and if you're creating a solution, like you can do this on health base as well, then there's already like maybe new problems that come with that solution as well, because it's built out of your your own mind and its own limitations. So I don't like the word like solutions, but I think like possibilities are and sustainability are some things that we do have to do. Not, and that's also why I want to live off the grid eventually as well, in order to just focus on my own health, because then there's no stress that put on by society, and then you're really like living for a better world, because you're living in a house which is completely based out of trash and natural materials. So you're doing something good for the environment in that way as well. But it's also like helps you as a person, just you being surrounded by earth. Like here we live in stone bricks, and I have a wooden hall here, wooden wall here, but um, it doesn't make you like, I don't know if you know anything about grounding. If you stand with your naked feet on the ground, and already has some beneficial um,
Practice it every day. I was at the beach the whole day. Nothing better than grounding at the beach.
yeah, well the thing is like, then you're connected to the soul of the earth. But if you're like building in this house and you're already like inside, and you're not really connected to your environment. But these off the grid buildings, they're mostly like built by materials that found like in the environment, and it depends also on the building itself. But the concept is like you have a connection with the environment, because you have to know when it's gonna rain, when there's enough sun, when there's enough wind, just to get the electricity and to maintain everything in your surroundings. So in that way, you're always attuned to what the weather will say. Because if you really like, these days we have an app on our phone and it says like we have this and this weather. Um, and weather is something interesting as well, because uh, just to finish my point, uh, the we have an app on our phone that says like tomorrow it's gonna rain. But if you look at some birds, they like go crazy when a storm comes. For example, like we have here ravens. A lot of ravens, they make a lot of noise and they fly in circles. And then if you look at that, most people, they know, they're like, well, what the hell is happening? But if you really like think in relations, then you can see that that means that there's a storm coming, for example.
Mm.
And so that is some subtle signs that we can pick up if we really attune with our own intuition, with our own selves. And I think what's interesting about the weather, what I also believe, is that it's connected to the human psyche. So when my parents, they talk about their emotions, they mostly do this through work, talking about the weather. It's like, oh, today it's a nice sunny day, and oh, I feel so good. And then when it's raining, then they're more somber. So you're always like put in these cycles, and that's
Yeah,
also
that
very
that is also because of um the many impacts exposure to morning and afternoon sun has on mental health. Um, Without exposure to regular sun, and there are climates, UK is a great example, um, where people don't have exposure to regular sun. You need to supplement that because you'll be deficient in certain vitamins like vitamin D.
Hmm.
But anyway, continue.
uh yeah, where was I forgot where I left off. A little bit
Sorry,
tight.
I just wanted to jump in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I'm
I
a
mean,
little
look,
bit tight.
I don't obviously think that there's a problem though. Like, look, being in touch with our intuitions, I think that's important. Um, but there needs to be a practical way for people to incorporate um, change. So I don't think we need to ignore the fact that we've been able to create very useful technologies, and those technologies have brought us closer together in many ways. And those technologies bring people closer to information that does help them manage their entire lives. I manage a lot of my life through my mobile phone. Um, I don't think that's a bad thing. But the idea of building an off the grid house, last April, three friends, I'm included in that group. We started an investment group with the sole purpose to buy a property in the future and develop an off the grid village. And so we started just by putting $100 each a week into this account. Um, and we've been investing the money to create returns, because obviously that ultimate goal is going to require money to do it. And two more people joined earlier in the year, and two more people joined now. And in the space of 14, 60 months, we've got over $50,000 worth of value. And that's in 14 months. So, in 10 years, hopefully, we'll be in that position where we do have that property, and we do have that off the grid village. But there are things that you can do. Like, for instance, one of the most important things about grounding is, if you live in a city, you're going to have high exposure to radiation because of Wi-Fi, effectively, and that's not natural. So grounding is good because it retunes your body to the natural frequency of the earth. That is one of the reasons why grounding has such a big impact on your state of mind. So if you are developing an off the grid place, it doesn't have to ignore human technologies. Like, we can still stay connected,
Yeah,
but instead of Wi-Fi, you'd have cable connection in most of the rooms in the house, and then wherever the system was generating its source from, if it was Wi-Fi, you could position that far away from where you're actually sleeping or spending most of your time, so you're not getting that exposure.
yeah.
Anyway, I'd be very interested to hear, have you got much planned, or have you put much planning or consideration around how you would like to live off the grid?
Well, I got a opportunity to live in Portugal, and I will be there hopefully next spring to build my first off the grid house. But it will be not like it will be a very humble place. So it's just a beginning place where I can retreat and be into nature. And I will actually be living next to a guru who is very famous on YouTube. I don't know if you know him, Moiji or Moji. He's like a Jamaican guru. He has a lot of followings. But
I haven't heard of him.
oh, okay, well, he lives there as well, next to it's close to the Lisbon, and it's in a forest. So he also already has some electricity. The friend I will be having contact with him with this podcast as well. Planned on having a episode, but he has a little place there and some farm ground and electricity, running water. So it's not big, but it's a start, and eventually I want to expand it. But I'm just gonna build a very basic house, and after that I'll maybe come to Australia, or I'll go to Morocco first. I don't know, but what I do want to spend a lot of time the coming next months is, I don't know if you know the website Workaway. And this website, you can um, help people out on their projects, like they have maybe maintaining their garden, or watching their children. So I'll be doing a lot of those things, just to know people, get some skills on like getting off the grid, like some tools you can use, things about gardening, and and also, like, if you want to build a airship, or something off the grid, it requires a lot more work. It doesn't necessarily cost a lot of money because you're using cheap materials and a lot of local materials, but it's more like a lot of work. So it would be nice to meet a lot of people and help a lot of people out with their projects, so they can help you out and you have a community. Because like, what would be a dream for me is to have, not just have a off the grid community, or just living off the grid. I want to connect all those different communities all over the world, because in that way you can already like put some change into society. Because I think, like, if we would have a society working functionally, and with the problems that we have this day with climate change and all these corruption, I think this is the way in which we have to get forward. Like, I'm not gonna create mental solutions like, oh, this is a society how we should function, like Marxism, for example. But like, it is a solution in which it's a very natural way of living. And if you have this community like globally, then you can also like travel towards each other, and you can live cheaply, because you don't have to pay for the rent. You can only have to work the garden, maybe, or maybe you have to put in a little bit money just to keep the flow going. But it's much cheaper than living in society. So I think that would be a great dream. Like, maybe, if you're complete with your thing in Australia, I built one in Portugal, and I also want to build one later
Maybe
in
you'll have
Peru.
maybe you'll have a place in our land.
Yeah, yeah, that would be awesome. But I don't know, because it's the other side of the world.
You'll be build your house, one of
Yeah,
your
you're
yeah.
you're stuttering really hard. Can you repeat it?
No, sorry, I'm not stuttering. Maybe it's a network issue.
Yeah,
I
network. I
said,
mean,
isn't
yeah,
yeah, isn't that I said, isn't that the point of having these um, low cost off the grid sites that you're able to access around the world?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
And you can, and you can share those same sites with other people. So while you're not using certain sites, other people can be using them, for a small fee. You've mentioned a couple of things as well. Are you familiar with the circular economy, or the
Uh,
concept of circular economy?
no, has it something to do with the Jacob Frasco, the scientist that created a utopian society, or is it something else?
Um, I'm not sure. This only got shared with me this week. I'm gonna email it to you.
Awesome.
But effectively, they say there's three principles of a circular economy. It's about keeping products and materials in use, and it's designing out waste and regenerating natural ecosystems. So those are the kind of the
Hmm.
founding principles of a circular economy. So one of the companies that I use, Life Cycle. Life Cycle are a Byron Bay company that manufacture and distribute mushroom extract oils. So these are products that I use frequently. Joe Rogan's spoken about them on his podcasts, and plenty of athletes and high celebrity people have commented on the impacts that these oils have had on them. But all of my close friends use these products, so we all use them daily. And there's all these different types of oils. But anyway, Life Cycle emailed us in relation to just information on the circular economy. Has nothing to do with their business, but they're just sharing good information to their customers because they're a sustainably minded company. So they're just doing their part, sharing good information with people that buy their products. But I'll send the email to you after the call.
All right, awesome. Yeah, maybe if people are interested, I'll put it in the description so people can check it out. I also know that you did something with the Taoistic medicine with the 5 elements. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that because it's also very relevant to health, and they also approach it on different levels. They maybe do it in a different way, but they're very yeah. Can you say something about
What are you referring to?
the Taoistic 5 elements? You did something in the past with your friend. You gave some presentations, I think.
Oh, so yeah, no, I'm very glad this didn't come into fruition, because it would have failed because of COVID. But we worked last year towards launching a health facility called Elements, and it was a health facility that incorporated a lot of what we've spoken about on this call. But yeah, that didn't go ahead, just because of a couple of factors. One of them was just the scale of investment we needed to get it off the ground, um, and that kind of put a pause on things at the start of the year. And then COVID kicked in by March, and so we're all thanking God that we didn't pull the trigger earlier, because that would have sent us bankrupt. So yeah, we didn't actually create that in the end. And it's probably not likely to be something that we will go back to, because since it's been more of an interest now, when we buy this property, we would like to create basically a resort that people can come and stay at, and learn and practice a lot of these things that we practice,
Mm-hmm.
to do with health, but on a holistic level. So, connection with people is a big one. It's probably the most important one, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But also, understanding the benefits of sunlight and hydration and movement and nutrients and sleep, and all of the things that we've alluded to on the call.
Yeah. That's very important to approach it holistically. Uh, and people here very misunderstand it because they connect it to New Age and a lot of different things. But it just means that everything is put together and seen as it is, as a complete picture.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
I think one thing I'll say, when you realize that, you only have one mind and one body to carry your mind in this life. The purpose of your body is it is a vessel for your mind, and you only have one. And obviously, you only have one of these as well. So there should be an interest in doing as much as what is possible in your relative circumstance to look after both of those things. I invest a lot of money into keeping myself fit mentally and physically. Between recovery science, which is $50 a week, and a facility that I use called Total Fusion. Total Fusion is they do all types of different exercise, but I do a lot of yoga there and power yoga there. But all of that is barefoot and also facilitated in rooms that are lined with infrared panels on the roof, heated to 35 degrees through the infrared light, and have complete controlled fluorescent light, so there's no blue light when you're training. So it embodies a lot of the beliefs that I have. They also have these enormous salt walls, but huge salt walls lining these yoga rooms. So they're a facility and a service that I use. And I see a psychologist once a month, and I use the CBD oils and I use the life cycle oils, and so on a monthly basis, I'm investing $600, $700, $800 at least into my health. So that's a lot of money. However, a lot of people that might think that talking Australian dollars there, by the way.
That is what?
So
Sorry? Sorry again?
I'm talking the Australian dollar. So you're the euro in Amsterdam? Yes, it's like a euro is like 60. One Australian dollar is like 60 euro cents. So we're talking. I probably spent 450 or 500 euros a month on keeping my physical and mental state as healthy as I can. But the way I look at that is an investment, and I get enormous returns from those investments, because by being mentally fit as often as I can, I am able to keep myself in a state where opportunities continuing to present and I am able to deliver. And so by keeping myself in that state, I'm able to generate more income because I'm performing at a higher standard. For instance, last night I went out to lunch at 2 p.m. and we would have smashed. I probably had 10 drinks. A couple of friends came over. We were playing music at my apartment before we were going out to the club, and one of the friends that came over, he gave me a recommendation to buy a cryptocurrency when it was at 60 cents, and it's now sitting at $18. Chainlink is the name of the cryptocurrency. It's the fifth biggest cryptocurrency in the world. And that investment made over 6 figures for myself in terms of profit. So that was enormous, life-changing, that one. And his recommendation came from another friend who a friend of his, not us. I've met him once or twice before, but he wouldn't know who I was. But if we saw each other, we would be friendly with each other. But anyway, he has made millions off of different investments. Starting with he put $20,000 in Apple before they released the iPhone. He got onto Bitcoin and Ethereum when they were just a very small thing. So he made millions off of Ethereum and Bitcoin, and Chainlink was one of his predictions. But bringing it back to last night, my friend goes, the name of this person says, this is the next big thing. And they've all jumped on this ICO. ICO is like an IPO, but it's an initial coin offering, because that's basically what the shares are called with cryptocurrencies. And anyway, he mentioned that the ICO was closing this morning, 5 a.m. my time. So while I was intoxicated, my friends told me that there's this opportunity, and what I did in that present state of mind, understanding that this individual that's given this recommendation, is a genius at what he does. And what he does is identify technologies that change financial markets, which is what this new thing is. The new thing's called Hegic, Hegic. And I had a decision to make. The money was there, and the decision was either to spend time to get onto the ICO, which could potentially make me an enormous amount of money based
What
on what they're predicting.
what is ICO?
Initial coin offering.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like an IPO, which is an initial public offering for a public company, or at least that's what they're referred to.
All right.
But this is more for cryptocurrency companies. So that's called an ICO because instead of shares, you get issued tokens or coins.
Mm.
So same as an IPO, but it's just for a crypto company. But anyway, so I spent an hour and a half. I was messaging my friend in Tokyo, trying to work it out, and got the information I needed and got the investment through, and and then I got back on to my partying. But the point is, there was the opportunity, I didn't really know, I didn't choose to invest based on any knowledge I had on the product, although the experience of getting the tokens was facilitated very well. But the instinct of, if this person who spends his life traveling the world, he's actually denounced his Australian residency and he doesn't pay tax in Australia, and he lives all through his cryptocurrency portfolio, is probably one of the most fascinating people that I know. He's based in Berlin, doing an IT degree. He said that this is a game-changing product for cryptocurrencies, and they call it DeFi, decentralized finance. And they said this is a game-changing product for the DeFi market. And I picked that. I picked the information, or the person, at least the source, and thought, you know what, this is worth throwing a couple of $1,000s at. Yes, that's what we did. But anyway, it's being in that present state again, which is where we started, and that I think is so important, and being able to prioritize things in your life, that if there is an opportunity, or if it is a Sunday and you're feeling a bit hungover, you can prioritize making or doing things that are going to make you feel better, or you can, from what initially looks like the easier option, not do it, and just let things go on, and nothing changes. Your environment actually gets worse. So anyway, I thought that was a good example because, I think when people meet me and my friends, my close friends, sometimes they they might misunderstand us. They might. I'm not perfect, Jasper. A lot of my behaviors can definitely be questioned. But
Mm.
what I'm getting good at is prioritizing the right things in life.
Yeah, and it's a growing process. Like, it's not like you're instantly there. Like what you said about the quick fixes, about expecting solutions to come very quickly, or like being cured and instantaneously. It's not. It doesn't work like that. So it's a growing process. But what you said about the cryptocurrencies, because my father works for a bank, for the IGN.
IGA, ING, sorry.
ING, sorry.
Yeah.
And he works in fraud, and he is always like, the only interaction that I have with crypto is that I mine P network. I don't know if you know that one,
No.
on my phone, and it's for free, and I have about 3,000 coins on there. But my friend, he said that it was they expect it to be worth, when it's released, about 15 cents per coin. So 15 cents per how do you say that in English? Like if you add that 3,000, not add,
Yeah,
but
I know what you're saying.
yeah, and I do make a lot of money from that, but I don't know. I don't have any expectations, because what my father's his critique is, he gets really mad if even though I didn't even invest any money in it, for just free for me. But he's very like, oh man, it's not worth anything because it's not, you cannot touch it. But then I explained to him how the financial system is like built on, it used to be built on gold, but now it's just built on loans. So it's not just in our society, it's just ones and zeros in the end anyway, because they make, if they make one loan about
Yeah.
100,000, then they can print the money like 20, I don't know, 25 as much as that. And then the money gets more in circulation, and just inflation keep on growing. But I don't know. There's a lot of corruption, and I think it ties in with healing as well. Maybe people see this as a strange connection, but the way our economic system is working right now, it's just not a sustainable thing. And people, you can do a lot of good things with money, like you're saying, with investing in your own health, and building off the grid houses. Those are all beautiful things to do with money, but a lot of people, they don't have that relationship. And I think the crypto is a little bit different because it's not it's purely technological. But I don't know everything. I don't know a lot of things
Just
about
so you know,
crypto.
though, with crypto, you can get it into any type of currency, mate. So, for instance, when Chainlink got to a certain level, I wanted to take out some profit, and there's a company in Australia called the Living Room of Satoshi. I think the person that created Bitcoin, his last name was Satoshi, or his alias was Satoshi. I don't know that story well, but that's where the name comes from. And so I sent them, uh, traded my chain link for Ethereum and went to the living room of Satoshi, and they say, where do you want us to send the money? What bank account? Put in my BSB and account details. I'm an ING customer as well, so I use ING in Australia for my personal banking. I said I want this much money, sent the account, and they said, yep, send us this much Ethereum. I sent that much Ethereum. It got received instantly. I got an email notification saying that this amount's been transferred. It will be in your account in 1 business day. And 1 business day later, the money was in my ING account. So obviously I had to declare that. I had to declare the profit, or at least I declared 50% of it, because in Australia, if you hold an investment for longer than 12 months, then you get a 50%. It's not a discount, but it's like only 50% of the gain gets taxed. But if you sell your investment within 12 months of holding it, then 100% of the gain of the profit gets taxed. But anyway, that's nor
Yeah.
here nor there. The point is, crypto, I think now is more and more integrated into like our current financial markets. The question I have is, at what point in time will crypto be the currency that people trade in more regularly? This year in Australia, someone bought a house with Bitcoin. It was the first purchase of a house with Bitcoin. So it's happening. It's just not happening at scale, but it has the absolute potential to happen at scale. While your dad works for ING in the fraud department, I know obviously his job's relating to a different type of fraud. And ING, I use them because out of all of the banks, I think ING are the lowest with fees and offer the fairest service to customers. But at the same time, the real fraud is the interest rates that banks and financial institutions are charging on credit cards or charging on loans. That's the real fraud that's going on right now. People have to pay to access their money. So while companies are happy profiting off structures that cripple people and ultimately communities because of debt and the liability that comes with that, they are building this case. They're building this case for decentralized finance to become a real thing eventually. And that's why I'm happy putting my money there, because I think it's a great opportunity for anything to really change in the world. It's got to very much be driven through financial markets and the way people trade goods and services, and then trade currency as well. So the idea that there's a decentralized network where these fees don't exist to the degree that we're used to with current markets, fucking, that sounds amazing. That sounds like real transformation. And I personally, I hope it happens. I don't also think that our financial markets now are a bad thing. I just think that the institutions within them are profiting unfairly of the customers within the markets. That's my problem with it.
Yeah. And they, like the ING, they made some investment in some oil companies, and some of these oil companies, they have like running oil pipelines through nature reservoirs. So there's a lot of corruption within the banks as well, which is not like put on the mainstream media. But
Yeah.
they don't have their hands clean. But we're ending at the first hour, so the next half hour will be on Patreon.